Dr. Yvette has experienced in international education, in training, facilitation, healing, and therapy. She currently works as a therapist in private practice and as an organizational psychologist specializing in transforming oppressive structures into new collaborative cultural norms. Combining her training in psychology, systems, healing, and education, her work focuses on healing rifts, building relationships, and empowering people one word at a time. Her presentations integrate a unique blend of humor and wisdom, openness and honesty, and a deep generosity of self and spirit. Lake Harriet Spiritual Community, please help me welcome Dr. Yvette Erasmus.
Good morning. I was wondering if I had to do anything to turn this on, and I began speaking, and my answer was right there. Luckily, I don't have to do anything, because I was stressing about details like that for some reason, as we do. It is a delight to be here with you this morning. It is so lovely to see lots of familiar faces and some new faces, or if you're all familiar and I forgot, I apologize. I've reached that point where lots of things have to be repeated to me, apparently, and I'm surrendering to this new stage of life. So, we are here in September to talk about love as medicine. I believe that is the theme for September, Love as Medicine, and I was thinking a lot about what could I possibly tell you about love as medicine that you probably don't already know. So I decided I don't put myself an agenda to tell you anything you don't know. I'll just share some stories with you and hopefully remind you of what you do already know about the power of love, the way that love works, the difference between love and fear, and all of the different things that get in the way of our ability to stay in a coherent, aligned state of love with ourselves and one another. I'm not going to bore you this morning with all kinds of definitions of love. Please use whatever definition is most resonant for you. I'm going to talk about love just to give you a little bit of a frame, even though there's many ways we could talk about love, but I'm going to talk about it as the connective tissue of the universe, the ground of being out of which I believe everything else emerges, and the inherent goodness that lives within every single one of us. It is the goodness that I believe, that we are made of. It is the energy of the universe that can hold extreme diversity in a unified field. It is the thing needed for us to have tremendous diversity and variety of life while being unified, like in an ecosystem, a healthy ecosystem, where you have a tremendous variety of kinds of life that express themselves, that are not the same, that don't all have the same strategies for meeting their needs, and yet all of that diversity and variety is needed for the health of the overall interdependent ecosystem. And I bring that up because I'm also going to talk today about love as coherence. And I don't want you to mistake coherence for sameness. Coherence and sameness are not the same in the way that I'm going to talk about them today. And so what do I mean by coherence? I'm talking about what is it like when we are living in alignment with what is, when we're living from our most authentic ground of being, when we're living from this little out there, so just play with me, but when we're living from the connective tissue of the universe, when we are in alignment with universal laws. What is that like? And what happens when we're out of alignment with that? And I'm going to give you today a very psychological take, okay? Because I am a psychologist, and it is my preferred language. It is the language that I know better and that I feel more confident in, and so I'm going to give you the arc from a psychological point of view, letting you know that for me, psychology, the spiritual practice of healing, health and healing and therapy, is the practice of embodying love. That is what it ultimately is for me. I don't usually talk about it that way, but today I will, a little bit. And we really cannot talk about love without referencing attachment. Because this is one of the main places where I think people get very, very confused about love. We become attached to somebody. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but you meet someone, and all of a sudden, your nervous system floods with all kinds of hormones and neurotransmitters, and all of the little lights in you sort of light up, and you look at this person, and you have some version of you are the one. You are it. I have found my soulmate. Has this happened to anybody? It's happened to me many times, so, you know. There can't only be one, apparently. So and what are we doing in this moment? We are projecting. What are we projecting onto this other lovely human being? Our longings, our fears, our wishes, our desires. Something awakens inside of us. We want to feel complete and known and merged. Like we're one. And then we're also what? We're safe. And then finally we found this one person and they will complete us. And we will have this union, right? And then we start getting to know them. And the more we get to know them, the more we're like, oh, wait a minute. No, this thing you're doing, no, that is not in alignment with my vision of love. Okay? This is not helping me feel these feelings that I want to be feeling. In fact, the things you're saying and doing and not doing are actually bringing up in me a lot of inconvenient things that I have been trying to avoid. I am more fearful. That is not your role. Okay? I'm beginning to feel some insecurity. You must be doing this to me. And as we begin feeling all the unpleasant things that often come, right, after we've had this like whoosh of 3 to 6 months of honeymooning, and all the shadow work starts coming up, and we start looking at this person, and all of the veils start dropping, and we're like, I don't like how you're making me feel. Then we enter the stage of changing them. Are you familiar with this stage? Now I'm going to give you some feedback on what just doesn't quite work for me about you. And I'd like you to change these things, because if you could change all of these things out there, I'm going to feel a lot better. And don't you care about how I feel? Aren't we humans lovely? And then what does the other person do? I have yet to meet the person who says, I have been waiting for this kind of clarity and insight from somebody. Let me take notes. Do you have a therapist I can use? Let me go and change so that I can show up so perfectly that you will never feel any of these unpleasant feelings ever again. And of course, when they start doing that to us, we don't do that either, do we? I mean, you might want to try that. It might be a nice new move to just be like, okay, give me all the things that you would like me to change. So our resistance to that, our resistance to wanting to be changed in that way by another person, comes from a very sacred and divine impulse that I think we all have, of wanting to be an authentic expression of ourselves. We have inside of ourselves, many of us, I won't speak for everyone because I really don't know, but I think many people have inside of themselves a desire to be loved for who we are. And we also have a desire to be able to express the authenticity, the power, the truth of who and what we are. In the same way that an acorn will always grow into an oak tree. It doesn't matter if you keep telling it what a fir tree looks like. It doesn't want to grow needles, even though you might prefer needles. Okay? The oak tree is going to become an oak tree. A pine cone is going to become a pine tree. And each one of us has inside of ourselves a blueprint that we're here with that wants to be expressed, embraced, loved, expressed into its fullest potential. And we also have a deep longing that our communities look at our expression and smile with delight and say, that is beautiful, that is good, that is delightful, I enjoy you. That is the essence of love. Being able to look at the people around you, look at the world around you, and enjoy it for what it is. Not as an object to meet your needs and to rearrange itself perfectly so that you never have unpleasant feelings. And yet that is a place that so many of us default to. So then we've got to take a few steps back and go, well, then why are we having all these unpleasant feelings? Like, what am I supposed to do with them? If the goal is not to get everyone else to rearrange themselves in the image of who I need them to be, what do I now do with all of this unpleasantness that I'm finding inside of myself? So the easy answer is I would like you to learn to love it. And what does that actually mean? What does it mean to learn to love what you find inside of yourself? So now we're going to go through a whole arc. But quickly, first, I'll just give you this piece. It means that you learn to relax in the face of every feeling you're feeling. You're in pain, you practice breathing and relaxing. You're distressed, you practice breathing and relaxing. You're feeling insecure. I have so much insecurity going through me right now. You notice it, you name it, you acknowledge it, you witness it, you track it. Now, if you have had any degree of trauma in your background, and trauma I'm going to define very, very broadly because I think most people on this planet have had trauma. Any kind of trauma. Trauma is the state of separation from your goodness. Okay? It is when something is imposed upon you that wounds you. So we can have sexual trauma, we can have physical trauma, we can have cultural, societal, relational, structural trauma. Any interaction where your well-being is not being cared for, and some system or person or event has turned you into an object to be used with no regard for your well-being, that will be a version of trauma. Okay? What it does is it creates in you the belief that there's something fundamentally wrong with you, that the world is very, very dangerous. It's true. The world is very dangerous. And that in order to feel okay in the world, you need to protect yourself. So you start developing all these defenses, right? I've got to help myself feel better. I need to actually defend myself from the structures, the people, the institutions, the world, that particular person. I'm going to walk a very wide arc around that one. You know? I remember a time when I was 11 or 12, and there was a very interesting gentleman in the church that I went to. And nothing really ever happened to me, but enough happened to me with this human being that every part of my being at 11 or 12, I don't remember exactly how old I was, began walking a very, very wide arc around that person. I wouldn't greet them, I wouldn't look at them, I wouldn't go near them. Right? We have this spidey sense, we know. Right? And so what we start doing is we start developing defenses to keep ourselves safe. When we are in a state of trauma, our nervous system gets really hijacked because it's moving our system into fight, flight, and freeze. So if we're strong enough and we think we can win, we're going to move into fight. It's the most powerful, it's the most activating, it's the most satisfying when you win a fight. That's why we like winning, right? If we think we can get power over it, we're going to fight it. If we don't think so, if my assessment of my nervous system is like, I think you will win the fight, then what we're going to do is we're going to get out of there. That was me, little girl. I'm going to walk around. I'm not going to go near it. I'm going to see this thing that is dangerous, and I am going to do everything to stay as far away from it as I can. Right? And if we can't escape, if we can't flee, and we're not strong enough to fight, we will freeze. We will freeze, and if the pain is big enough, we will dissociate. Isn't that incredible? Isn't that like the most wonderful possible thing that we could be able to do in those moments? Because those defenses help us survive and get away from what is dangerous to us. Now, we live in a body where our nervous system gets really, really activated. And if these defenses do not get completed, they can get very stuck in our internal system. We can have incomplete fight responses where I tried to fight back, but I couldn't win, and now it's stuck. And now I've got this like incomplete thing, and I've got this reactivity in my life where I just want to punch things, but it never really resolves anything. Or I can have an incomplete flight response. I tried to get away, and I couldn't get away. And so it shows up as restless legs, and it shows up as this anxiety and this restlessness because I can't quite get this thing to completion. And we don't understand this because often it happened early on enough that we don't have consciousness around it. It's just living in us. Or we can't even focus. Like we're constantly like floaty out over here. Like some part of us learned in dangerous situations, we just have float out over here. And now a part of us is like, I'm just going to go out there again and again and again at any sign. And I'm like, why am I so distracted? And why can't I just get present? And so if you have any of this, the very first step of coming back into love, this is a form of fragmentation. And if we're thinking about love as coherence, the first part of our journey is healing our trauma. We want to get back in our bodies. We want to settle the nervous system. We want to complete the fight response. We want to complete the flight. We want to get all of our capacities back online consciously. And what I see happening in my office all the time is, what is wrong with me? I dissociate. What is wrong with me? I'm so angry. What is wrong with me? I'm so avoidant. And I would encourage you to notice if you have any of that kind of thinking and get rid of it. Not what is wrong with you, isn't this wonderful about you? This is not something wrong with you. There is a good reason why this is here. Let's love it. And what do I mean by let's love it? We build a relationship with it. We stop othering it. We stop vilifying it. We stop pathologizing it. We realize that this is a part of life and it has wisdom, and we are going to relate with it. We are going to get to know it. We are going to lean into it. Right? So we start developing this wonderful witnessing, observing self. And then trauma is often a rupture in a community and the safety of a community. And so I highly recommend that you don't try to do any kind of trauma healing solo. You need a community. You need a support group. You need other people. You need a trauma healer, whatever it is that is good for you. And you begin reestablishing safe relationships with new people who are safer than the original people who caused the trauma. Now we're bringing ourselves back into coherence. Now we're learning to understand what happened to us without making the mistake of thinking that this is who we are. Who you are, we're going to play with this as an idea, only take it if it resonates for you. You are a sacred, loving being, here to do something. And there's some stuff getting in the way for you right now. And that stuff can be healed. And as we bring all parts of you back into coherence, and we bring all parts of you back into worthy of being seen with delight, with softness, with loving eyes, our nervous systems begin re-regulating, and they can get back into a state of coherence. Okay? And as we begin getting more coherent with our embodied selves, we can move into the next stage. After trauma and healing, we move into like discovering and reclaiming our authentic self. What were all the parts of me that I needed to put away? What are all of the parts of me that I was taught were bad? What are all of the parts of me that I had to exile and put into the shadows because I was taught by whatever systems I grew up in, self-sacrifice good, selfish bad. Hardworking good, lazy bad. Right? Polite to other people even if you hate them, authentic self-expression, you bitch, bad. Okay? So we start beginning to grapple with what parts of me have I been told are good and I'm allowed to express them around other people? And what parts of me have I been told are bad and I have to keep them a secret and I've got to keep them here in the shadows? When you have that kind of split in your psyche, it's very difficult to live from love because you're actually living with a rift. You're living with internal splitting. And anything that you are carrying shame about will be a block in you to love. And what I want to suggest to you, go find a really good therapist. And what I want to suggest to you is shadow work. You know what? Sometimes I want to rest. And sometimes I want to work hard. And hard work and rest are polarities that I am going to learn to work with. It does not mean that I am useful or lazy. This is the trauma of cultural conditioning. These are cultural ideas that we have inherited that create suffering and that are not healthy and that get in the way of you being able to love yourself and especially also get in the way of you being able to love someone else. Because to the degree that you carry these ideas, you are going to do what we talked about at the beginning. You're going to look at other people through your filters of good and bad, and you are going to try to create everybody in your life into good people, and you're not going to be able to relate to the parts of them that you've evaluated as bad people. And I'm going to suggest to you that that is one of the places where you are struggling to love yourself and other people. In practices of nonviolence, we talk about how there are no good or bad people. There are conscious and unconscious people. And there are levels and stages of development and consciousness. And if we really want to show up as loving beings, we learn how to love accurately at different stages of consciousness. Not to pathologize it, but to be able to hone in the kind of love needed for each stage. That's a different topic. I can go into that another day. It's not that we stop seeing clearly. We don't just say, oh, everybody is good, and we don't look at things, because there's a lot of BS happening on the planet and in our relationships. We see clearly. But the essence of loving is that we become willing to be in an honest and kind relationship with everything. We will relate with everything. It is safe for you to tell me your secrets. I will love you. And then we will understand what is the shame that led to that secret. And then we will understand what was happening in your life that that secret needed to be a secret. And then we will understand what danger and fear and pain were you trying to avoid back then when you were younger. And then we're going to get right back on the human evolution journey of, and what do you need right now to increase your courage, to increase your strength, to increase your coherence, to increase your integrity, your alignment with who you want to be, not who your culture tells you you're supposed to be. And so instead of living in reaction to external standards, we begin making a shift back into, what if I live from the inside out? Now, that part of the human growth journey takes a hell of a lot of courage, because living from the inside out will mean that you will begin disrupting the status quo. And it will mean that people will begin judging you. They have been doing it all along, but now you're stepping fully into a conscious, okay, go ahead and judge me. Okay? And it means that your decisions are no longer driven by a desire to stay safe. Staying safe is not the highest principle when you want to live a loving life. A loving life has no safety. It has love. Okay? And it is willing to work with fear. But love will not be controlled by fear. You will have fear. I have fear all the time. I have fear every time I come and talk here. And then we notice the fear, and we relax our nervous system, and we work with the fear. I don't expect the world to show up in a way that I'm never scared. I know that I'm going to be scared. What I do is I no longer let what I am afraid of make the decisions for my life. I no longer let the truths that I don't think I can handle have so much power in my life. I square my shoulders, I'm like, okay, tell me the thing, tell me the truth for you. I don't think I'm going to like it, but I want to hear the truth. Because love will work with what's real. And then when we find things that people have done out of shame, out of judgment, out of pain, out of fear, when we're really being loving, we meet that with compassion, not judgment. But that's not the culture we live in. Okay, so I want to acknowledge we are swimming in this. We're swimming upstream like little salmon. It takes strength, it takes clarity of purpose, and it takes a desire in you to do it. Because the easiest thing in the world is to just relax in the stream and go down the waterfall. Just let it go, let it take you down, and then you can crash on the other side. But if you want to swim upstream, this work, the work of really loving on this planet at this time, is unfortunately countercultural work, especially in the United States right now. Sorry. But saying, I'm going to tell you all my secrets, I'm going to own all the things that I've done, I'm going to come clean and tell you the story of my life and how I got here, that is easier for people to do when they trust that they are in a culture of care. But the cultures we live in, of course, are punitive. And so we see danger everywhere, and then we default into, I'm scared, I want to be safe. I'm scared, I want to be safe. That is not a life built on love. And you can choose it, but be clear that that is not choosing a life built on love, in my view. That is a life built around seeking the illusion of safety. And I know that I've said this before, I just want to remind everyone, none of us are safe until every single one of us is safe. None of us will be safe until every single one of us is safe. And it is an illusion to keep chasing after personal safety because we're one. Love, however, is contagious and powerful. You know that you can see a candle in the desert for 3 miles when it's pitch black, when there's no light pollution? One candle. You can see 3 miles away when it's pitch black. And I think that love is like this. The light that you bring, the love that you bring, the compassion that you bring to yourself and other people will ripple. And yet if you go over to that little flame and it's just sitting there flickering, that little flame would say, I'm not really doing anything except desperately trying to hang on to this little wick. And that's how I think each of us feel. I could be snuffed out at any time. So do not underestimate what it is that you are radiating out when you choose to live a courageous life. And this is about your authentic self and about being a whole self. So, I'm going to be able to say, oh yeah, that was me being super selfish. I'm going to be able to say, I'm so forgetful, I completely dropped the ball on this. It is a way of being very self-accountable. Self-accountability is different than defensiveness. This is a big thing. I do a lot of couples work. Getting a couple to move out of, but you did this to me, therefore I did this to you. And I could be better if you were first better. Some version of this, you may have recognized it. The only reason I yell at you is because you never listen. You know, if you listened, I wouldn't have to yell. Right? Or some version of that. Or I would tell you the truth if you weren't going to judge me. We have so many conditions. And so at this stage, what we do is we decide who I'm going to be. And I don't need my conditions to be any different for me to decide who I'm going to be. Okay? My commitment is to learn how to love you as is. You don't listen, you turn things around on me, you whatever. Okay, that's you. I'm going to give up the project of changing you, and I'm going to figure out what do I need to do in me so that I can love you. And then we get to another distinction about love, which is not enabling, which is not permissiveness, because love is also about holding very firm, loving, clear, non-reactive boundaries about what I am able to engage with and be in relationship with, and what ends up becoming non-relational. And I get very clear on that. When you lie to me, when you tell me things that are not actually true, the dilemma that I go into is I really want to be in relationship with you. And one of the preconditions for me is that I'm with who you really are. I cannot build a relationship with an illusion. So we have a dilemma. I will relate with the parts of you that you bring forward that are really true and honest. I can work with anything. I will make a commitment to love what you bring me. But when you're bringing me illusions, there's no relationship for me to be fighting for. In that, I don't say, I can't be with you because you're an effing liar. I start speaking from a place of empowered truth-telling in the most loving way possible. And what we end up deciding, or not even deciding, what we end up discovering is the word I'm looking for. What we end up discovering is that things begin falling away and rearranging themselves outside of us without any effort on our own behalf once we start getting clear on who we are and how we want to be. Some people look at that and go, oh, I'm repelled. And then we go, clarity, thank goodness, I didn't even have to work hard. I didn't even have to break up with them. They could just see. And we don't take that as rejection. We take that as validation. I know that I'm being kind and truthful and honest, and I am being my little oak tree self here, and it looks like you're looking for a palm tree. Please. We stop taking everything so personally. We now are working in the realm of alignment, of love. And then, let me see where we're moving to. Wait, because I don't want to skip a step, and I have a tendency to skip steps. I'm going to check. So. Then we move, we discover our authentic selves, and we are unlearning our conditioning. We talked about that, yes. And then we meet, that's when we're embodying love. Oh, I've just put them all together. Yes, and then we're embodying love. So let me just tell you, here are my steps. Because sometimes people like frameworks. Actually, my discovery is that most people like frameworks, right? Okay, so the first thing we do is we heal our trauma. And here's a mantra for you. I'll publish this somewhere. I'll publish this on a blog. So if anybody wants to go and get this in writing, you can just go to my blog and I'll have it there for you, okay? But here's your mantra. I am safe enough now to feel what was once unbearable. I am safe enough now to feel what was once unbearable. That's a mantra for the healing trauma stage. The second stage, we learn co-regulation. There's so much. I wish we had a whole day. Okay, we're not going to do the whole workshop. We're just going to do the inspiration part, okay? Here's the second mantra. When you start unlearning your conditioning, the conditioning from what is wrong to what will help, the conditioning from judgment, control, and shame, and punitive justice into compassion and graciousness and learning and growth and healing and loving. When we start making that shift, here's your next mantra. I release all the scripts that are too small for my soul. I release all scripts that are too small for my soul. All right, that's stage 2. Stage 3, we start living from our authentic selves. I am enough as I am, and my wholeness is welcome. My wholeness is welcome. I'll tell you one of the things that I love the most about the relationship that I am currently in. There's many, many things that I love about the relationship that I'm currently in. One of the things, my wholeness is welcome, is that we can play. I can play with my partner in many, many ways. We can have a very skilled, nonviolent, emotionally awake conversation about some dynamics, and we can build understanding, and we can go slowly, right? And we can also have the conversation that says, oh my God, you're such an asshole. And he goes, I know, I am. And then we both laugh. And there's so much love in this interaction. It doesn't have to be sanitized. There's so much trust. There's so much knowing of what we mean. There's so much owning of the shadow. There's nothing to defend. He's like, yeah, I know, I can be a total asshole. You're right. That was a complete dickish thing for me to do. And I'm like, well, thank you for noticing it. He goes, come here, let me give you a hug. I'll work on it. And that's it. You know, and I think about earlier on in my life where I used to have very long, meaningful, long conversations, very heavy conversations in therapy to really unpack. And then we had to be very careful, and we had to say it exactly right. And that is a stage. This is a very good stage. But let me tell you the joy and the freedom when you can get to the other stage and you're like, oh, everything is just welcome here now. Everything, we can just be like playful and free. There's a much broader range of how you can show up without it being injurious or horrible, right? Now, if we didn't have that kind of trust, that kind of interaction could be very injurious. So I'm not saying that out of context, it always works, right? So, but that's just to illustrate the I'm enough as I am and my wholeness is welcome. And the other piece about that little vignette that I showed you is neither of us expects the other person to be perfect all the time. We're both willing to work with the fact that we disappoint one another and that we don't, sometimes he is so grumpy to be around. I'm like, you are too grumpy to be around. I'm going for the day. I'll see you for dinner. Because I need that for my well-being. And you need to just be able to be your grumpy self, so I leave you. Leave you in peace and love, and I'll see you later when I can be more loving. And then it works. So there's some freedom of expression. The next stage is that we start embodying love. We just live from this place of being loving. And what do you start noticing? You're no longer thinking in terms of what is wrong with someone. You're seeing what somebody is doing, and you're like, I wonder what would help right now. That is one of the main hallmarks. You're not looking at people thinking, I wonder what diagnosis I can give them so that I can know what kind of particular pathology they have so that I know how to avoid them. You're not thinking that. You're actually thinking, if you're me, I wonder what diagnosis this person has so that I can really attune my loving strategies to the exact unmet need that goes with that particular diagnosis so that I can create conditions where we can be more loving to this particular constellation. Do you understand the difference? Not here's what's wrong with you, go fix you. More like, what is the nature of the distress here so that I can really align my way of being to help, to love, to bring for you the permission to be that I don't think you're giving yourself right now. So that you can love yourself in this place. This is another thing I noticed in my teaching, in my membership, in my practice, in my therapy work. You do not have to be healed in order to be loved. So many people come to therapy because they want to fix themselves so that they can finally earn love. You are lovable right now, where you are, traumatized, defensive, lying, selfish, lazy, whatever it is that you don't think is lovable about you, you are lovable as is right now. And it is the knowing of that and the living of that and the offering of that to one another that will bring safety and coherence back into the system. In conditional domination cultures that we have been so indoctrinated into, somewhere people in our psyche, we've gotten installed this idea that we have to earn love by being good. And I would like to break through that illusion today. Stop being good and know that you are lovable and begin living from your lovableness. Good is a control tool from a domination system designed to get you to be obedient and compliant to power structures. Redefine for yourself what good is from the inside out. And I will give you some clues. It is coherent. It is relaxed. It is soft. It is open. It is in love with the world. It looks at other beings with curiosity and compassion. It wants to alleviate suffering. It wants to create wholeness. It understands that unity does not come from sameness like in a cult. It is the connective tissue of the universe. It is what everything comes back to. It is the ground of being. Live from that place in you. And don't worry that you will find all of the blocks inside of you, all of the obstacles inside of you to love. That's okay, we all have them. So we'll just get in little support groups and we'll share what obstacle are you dealing with, and this is the one I'm dealing with at the moment, and then we'll just love the process. And we will be with one another. We will not be turning on one another. We will not be ranking one another on some personal growth journey. And the very final stage, so wait, let me see, did I give you that? I honor your, in this one, the embodying of love, your mantra is this: I meet the world as love. I meet the world as love. I meet you as love. I will bring love for you. And the very final stage is the spiral of integration and service, which means the moment you think you're healed, you will not be. The moment you think you have arrived, you will not have. You will meet someone, something will happen, and you'll be like, am I here again, really? That is the fifth stage. You will integrate over and over again. And in that fifth stage, remember the power of service. We take everything that we learn and embody back into our communities. We ripple out. We are all in this together. And the mantra for your very last stage is, my healing is part of the healing of all people. I am part of a larger whole, and my healing serves the healing of all. So love isn't just a private feeling. It is not a distorted attachment fear. It is a universal law that we align ourselves with over and over again through practice, through relationship, and through devotion. So, thank you.
Wow, that goes quick. It's when we're engaged and we're listening, and I have so many questions. And you're going to be around for a little bit afterward, aren't you? That's wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah, how do I be angry and love that and different things? Yeah, we're gonna. And if you enjoyed this stuff, go to YouTube. You can watch it again. You can share it with your friends. You can find Yvette on there, I don't know how many times, probably 10 or more, right? And all these wonderful speakers that we have, you can go find them on YouTube. So please do that. Lake Harriet Spiritual Community, we own this building. We're so grateful for it. And we are here by virtue of your donations and your support and your love. And this is the time when we would remind you that we're funded by your donations. In a moment, the ushers will be coming around with a basket. We have Venmo code because we're hip and happening this way. I sometimes don't have cash in my wallet, and I use Venmo. Your donations are primary source of income, and it allows us to keep the lights on, the speakers, and everything coming here for you. And what else do we have before offering? I think that will do. We'll have a little music and a little offering.
You say you want love, joy and peace too, but you run and hide when they come calling on you. You say you're tired of suffering, you just want a better life. But when the truth comes to set you free, you stay shackled to the lies. I don't know if you're ready to lay your burdens down. Don't be hope you understand. You gotta die to truly live. You say nobody wants to help you, so you stay in the same place, blaming everybody, yeah, 'cause it's too much work to change. You say now's the time, oh yeah, that you lay down your heavy load, but it just don't feel right. No, it don't feel right to let all of the craziness go. Let it go, let it go. Just let it go. I don't know if you're ready to lay your burdens down. Don't be so afraid. Lay them all down. I hope you understand. You gotta.
That's wonderful. I might ask you to raise your hands and repeat after me. God's perfect love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am. Blessed be. Aho. Now, as we like to do at Lake Harriet, let's make a circle around this middle area. Join hands, and Dr. Yvette Erasmus is going to send us off into the day with some wonderful
It will be.
words. We got to stretch all the way around to the back.
No, I wrote it this morning. Seriously? I love it. No, I wrote it this morning. Good afternoon. It's so nice to see you. May you walk from this place with love as your ground and your compass. May you feel the quiet strength of belonging, rooted, safe, whole. May your mind be clear, your heart soft, and your body steady. May you see in yourself and in every being you meet the same sacred light. And may love, the great coherence, the unseen gravity of life, guide your steps, heal your wounds, and always call you home to wholeness. Have a great week, everyone.